I understand that there's a desire to think that this is all over. I understand that people want to celebrate the end of the pandemic, and there's certainly cause for a lot of optimism here. But I have to tell you all that this thing is not only not over, but until we repudiate what has gone on here, until we actually win the argument against what has been done to this country, the power grab is just put on pause. Why do you think they're leaving some of these rules in place? Why do you think they're engaging in some of these efforts at Soviet-style rewriting of history? So they can bring it all back when they decide to. You think that they didn't like the power that they had? You don't think that they're going to try to expand upon this for other situations and circumstances? We now live in a country where a governor of a state can effectively say, I think there's a really important reason to restrict your movement, to restrict your breathing, to restrict your life. And you have to just say, sir, yes, sir, or ma'am, yes, ma'am, and that's the end of it. I'm sorry, that's not America. I'm not letting this thing go. We have a fight to win now over what has happened, what they did to us, what was necessary, what wasn't necessary, what worked and what failed. We don't just go forward and let all of this pass because it's not the end of it. It's not the last time. They're not even getting rid of everything. As you know, you currently have to still wear a mask even if you're vaccinated on a plane. Why? Are planes a big node of transmission? Are people getting them on planes? Vaccinated people getting COVID on planes? Really? Is that what's happening? I don't think so. This is absurd. But there's also a lot of confusion out there because finally they didn't keep pushing in the lockdown extreme direction. And that means that people are thinking about all the different arbitrary aspects of this. Here is the single worst little lab coat tyrant, the health policy Stalinist in chief, Dr. Anthony Fauci, about the confusion on the mask policies. Play 3.
The science that evolved over the last few weeks that prompted the CDC to make the recommendations that people who are vaccinated should feel safe and be able to go indoors and outdoors without wearing a mask relates to the evidence of how effective these vaccines are, not only in protecting you against infection, but even if you have a breakthrough infection, the chances of your transmitting it to someone else is extremely low. Very, very low. The problem in the issue is that we don't have any way of knowing who is vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. And I think that's where the confusion arises, because there are some establishments who are saying, well, I'm going to have people coming into my establishment, my store, or what have you. Some are going to be vaccinated and some are not. I'm not going to know the difference. Some might be infected and might actually have a risk of infecting someone else. And under those circumstances, it's perfectly reasonable and understandable for the owner of that establishment to say, you know, we're going to keep the mask mandate up. And that's what we're seeing. And I think that's causing the confusion because some are maintaining a mask mandate and others are not.
You should pressure any place that does not anymore have the force of law on its side to drop their mask mandate. This is important. You should go in. I'm going to, as of tomorrow, Wednesday, I'm going to walk into places without a mask on, and I'm going to force them to say, put your mask on, sir. And I'm going to say, why? There's no law. There's no rule. So you're just now an establishment that wants to force people to wear masks? This is what I mean by the fight is not over. You're going to see plenty of places. Now, I know if you live, God bless, if you live in a red state or a red part of a state where there are sane human beings who have not all been brainwashed by CNN and are not perma-maskers, forever maskers, you're like, Buck, it's your problem, buddy. Well, yes and no. It's my problem. It's the problem of New York City and Denver and Los Angeles and Portland and, cities that are going to have this for quite some time. Chicago, although actually I got to check and see what the latest on their mandate is. It's also on federal property. It's going to be on airplanes. It's going to be on anything that's crossing state lines, buses, trains. And they may just leave that. Look at how absurd airlines are and have been all along with their rules, not just on COVID, just in general. You think that all of a sudden they're going to become reasonable on this issue? You think that all of a sudden the airlines are going to be fair-minded about how long they keep in place the stupid wear a mask rule that they've had this whole time? It's not over. I mean, I understand that we all want to exhale, literally, and breathe free, fresh air, but there are going to be places and people that try to keep this thing going. And it is incumbent upon all of us to actually push back now. We had the force of the state against us, including under the Trump administration. Trump could have been stronger on this issue. That's just reality. Everybody was bending the knee. Now, it's also fair to say that we didn't have all the data. We didn't have the winter that we just went through, and that it wasn't as clear that mandates don't do a damn thing. Now it's quite clear. So to be fair to the Trump administration, it was earlier on. And, you know, I'm trying to assess this not as an unfair Monday morning quarterback, but sometimes that's going to happen. But get ready for this. There's going to be a push in some places to get vaccine passports. But as long as we have non-compliance and pushback against it, it won't happen. And yes, the fact of the matter is that people are just going to have to go back to living in a society. They're going to have to go back to living in a world where it is possible that somebody will have a respiratory infection that you can catch and that the state cannot protect you from that. Because as we see from what we've been through the last 15 months, the state has never been able to protect you from that. You know, I've been accusing Fauci all along here of not listening to the science. The science. You know, you got to just, or else you get a plateau and then a surge. So you got to listen to science. I look at the data and I come to a determination about it. Really, it's the best thing for you, for me to just listen to everything I say. But Fauci walks around with a mask on. Why? In fact, I think it was just yesterday he was photographed outdoors, sunny day in the D.C. area at some event. And he had a big mask on his face outside. Why? He's vaccinated. What is he doing? Well, here you go. He actually has to admit it now. Play 4.
How has it changed what you do? How has it changed your mask wearing practices?
Well, you know, George, I'm obviously careful because, I mean, I'm a physician and a healthcare provider. I am now much more comfortable in people seeing me indoors without a mask. I mean, before the CDC made the recommendation change, I didn't want to look like I was giving mixed signals. But being a fully vaccinated person, the chances of my getting infected in an indoor setting is extremely low. And that's the reason why in indoor settings now, I feel comfortable about not wearing a mask because I'm fully vaccinated.
Okay, what about the outdoor setting where you were wearing a mask yesterday? It's a security blanket, folks. We can all see it. It's clear. We know. We understand. And then there's the issue. This is why I'm sorry. I understand. What am I going to? I'll talk to you about some of the other news stories today that are out there. But what's more important than this? If you have children, your children are still expected to run around with a mask on. Your children are still expected to be in the sun this summer at camp, thanks to the CDC, in 90, 95 degree heat, running around with a stupid mask on their faces. So we're not done here. I understand we all want to be done, but the lunatic mask lockdowners need to, their ideas need to be defeated and eliminated. Their hysteria, their neuroses has to be overcome. Because you've got people like Fauci advocating for it as effectively mass child abuse. Play 2.
What's your message to parents this morning whose kids are unvaccinated?
Well, the same as Stephanie just mentioned, and that is that the CDC recommendations still maintain that for children who are not vaccinated, obviously, most children are not, 12 to 15 are getting vaccinated, that indoors they should still wear masks. And that's the CDC recommendation. Will that change as we get more and more information, as we get more and more people vaccinated? Certainly, we have to keep up with the evolving situation. George, we're not going to have kids at that age vaccinated for at least several months as we get towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year.
An old Democrat bureaucrat jerk advocating for, supporting, defending mass child abuse, because that's what masking up children who are not at risk from this disease and do not effectively spread this disease, that's what it is. So as I've been telling you, we're not done, not even close. Well, okay, close, but we're not done. And there's a lot of fighting left to do here, or else not only will there be the Soviet-style rewriting of history, but there will also be an effort to bring all of this back. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.